ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਸਾਡੀ ਇਸ ਖਾਸ ਪੇਸ਼ਕਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਹਾਂ ਰੁਪਿੰਦਰ ਕੌਰ। ਬੀਤੇ ਦਿਨੀ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਬਜਟ 2022 ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ, ਜਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰਸ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਵੱਖ-ਵੱਖ ਸੂਬਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਬਜਟ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਮੋਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸੇ ਸੰਬੰਧੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਫ ਟਰਾਂਸਪੋਰਟ ਓਮਰ ਅਲਗਾਬਰਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ। Hello Minister, and thank you so much for taking out time for PDC to discuss about budget.
Thank you very much, Rupinder. It's nice. This is not my first time on your show, but it's my first time in person. It's a pleasure to see you in person. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Minister, I would like to know, as I mentioned, the budget focused on economy growth, job creation and affordability. But this time the budget is big on housing. The measures we have seen is tax-free saving account, banning of foreign investment and flipping. But do you think all these measures will help to relieve that affordability crisis?
First of all, let me set the scene for you. The pandemic and the impact that it had on our economy, lockdowns, closures, has been significant. And Canadians have done the right thing. They got vaccinated, followed public health, and Canada now is coming out of the pandemic, one of the best growing economies in the world. We've recovered 115% of all jobs lost. We are now at a historic low of unemployment. So that's great. The economy is doing well. However, we're seeing that the economy is off balance because of the shutdown that the pandemic has caused. And we're seeing global impact as well. We're seeing recessions, supply chains challenges. So this budget is focused on addressing these issues and inflation, housing prices, supply chains and logistics. And that's great for Canadians. And to your point, and the reason I needed to set the context to explain where we are today, and what we're seeing today is that there is a shortage of housing units. So while the address to this issue, there's no one magic wand or silver bullet to this, but I think it's a combination of things, and the government needs to play a role. So what we're doing is we're investing in increasing supply. So we want to double the number of houses being built in Canada within 10 years. We're also helping families invest to buy their first home. And third, we're reforming the real estate market. So we're banning foreign investors. We're banning blind bidding. We want to tax flipping, and we want to reduce speculation. All of that combined will help ease the pressure of the real estate market and hopefully ensure that middle-class Canadians, particularly young Canadians, have the opportunity to buy their first home.
But what are the timelines for this? When all these will be implemented?
So, the budget needs to be passed in the House of Commons. Some of these measures, once the budget is passed, will take effect immediately. Some of these measures will require a few years for it to build over time. So, for example, the number of houses that we want to build, we can't double that overnight. So we're predicting that we'll double it over a period of 10 years. But having said that, we are going to have milestones every year along the way to get us there. And the tax saving account, that will come into effect once, the budget and other regulatory matter gets passed. So you'll see some measures get implemented immediately. You'll see an impact immediately. But some of them will take a bit longer to be fully realized.
But if you look at the measure announced as banning of foreign investment, but if you look at the data says it's hardly 2 or 3% foreign investment coming in Canada. So will this really make an effect?
Rupinder, not one of these items on their own is going to solve the problem. So that's why we're taking a comprehensive approach, and that's why we're addressing various aspects. And it's the combination of this comprehensive approach that we think will make a meaningful impact. At the end of the day, it's also market conditions, it's supply and demand, but by addressing the supply aspect, you will ease pressure. By addressing the demand, people who are benefiting off speculation, we want to minimize that, whether it's foreign investors, whether it's house flipping. So yes, it will make a difference, but on itself, it's not going to be the answer, but the combination of these measures will make a difference.
As you mentioned about the supply chain, definitely the diagnosis of this housing crisis is supply chain. The government announced they are doubling the supply, but this is the only thing, or later in the time we'll see more announcement coming on related to increase the supply?
Well, increasing the supply is a big aspect of our issue. You know, one of the reasons why some people say, at the end of the day, the market is a free market, and depending on supply and demand. And the best way, some people said, give more incentive for buyers. That might even push the prices higher. So that's why we have to address the supply component of it. Stay tuned. I guess we'll assess our program as it takes place, as it gets implemented. But for now, we have a full comprehensive plan that we're going to implement. Minister Hussein is the minister in charge of this file. I have full confidence in him, and our government is committed to addressing this. If we need to add more measures, if we need to adjust more measures, we will look at it and see what can be done.
Okay, if we talk about your department, your ministry, Ministry of Transport, so what is in budget for Ministry of Transport?
There is significant investment in the budget. One of them is, we talked about supply chains, the transportation network in Canada. Many people remember we had a shortage of toilet paper, or some people are still waiting for their couch to arrive or their washer. Those are problems that are caused globally, but some of them are domestic. Climate change events or weather events that have disrupted our supply chains. So the budget has additional $500 million. We've already invested $4.2 billion. This budget is proposing additional investment to grow and expand our supply chains. We also have a budget for supply chains for minerals. Now as we are making more batteries for our vehicles, more zero emission equipment, hydrogen. We need more minerals, so we're investing $1.5 billion in the supply chain. The other thing the budget announced is making electric cars more affordable, so we're going to include more categories of vehicle that receive the $5,000 federal rebate. The budget also has aspects of oceans protection plan, so those communities who are on the coastlines. So there are in the transportation sector, there are, I shouldn't forget this. This is something that many of your viewers, I think, would be interested in. The high frequency rail between Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, and Quebec. The budget has $400 million to advance further that project. This is going to be the largest infrastructure project in Canada's history. We are moving forward in making that project a reality. So yes, there's significant investment in the budget for the transportation sector.
And this budget also investing in clean economy, which is more important also. So how will Canadians and Canadian business benefit with the global transition of clean economy?
Look, first of all, all Canadians know we have to deal with climate change. It's no longer an intellectual discussion. We're seeing the real impact today. Flooding, fires, severe weather weather events. We have to do something, and it's only going to get worse. So Canadians understand, and they want the government to be serious about combating climate change. But this is also creating an opportunity with new technologies, with new demands about how we consume things, how we produce things. It's going to give us an opportunity to create new jobs, new set of jobs, a new set of skills. So this budget, by the way, increases the climate action rebate that families will be receiving to help them deal with the rising cost of living, but also has investments in building more jobs that will build the new technology. I was in Windsor just a couple of weeks ago, announcing with Stellantis and Chrysler the new plan to build car batteries there. Minister Champagne was there announcing in Brampton and in Oshawa for GM, build electric vehicles. They'll be the first electric vehicles built here in Canada. So we're investing in these type of projects, including the budget has a $15 billion Canada Growth Fund to help invest more into these jobs of the future. So not only is it a good thing for the environment, but it's a good thing for our economy.
But Minister, as you mentioned, the budget is overall about economic recovery, and you began this discussion with the pandemic recovery. But what is in for small business post-pandemic recovery? Because this budget ends all the COVID support they were getting.
Yeah, look, again, I want to thank business owners, workers. They've been really patient. They've followed public health advice, and they struggled. Our federal government was there. We supported workers, we supported small businesses at a time of need. We are now turning the corner from COVID. Let's keep our fingers crossed. COVID is still with us. We have to remain vigilant, but we're turning a massive corner. So what we need to do now is move forward and look forward to what next. There is an element in this budget to help small businesses keep more of their money to invest in job creation or in the growth of their business. Small business tax rate is 9%. And that 9% used to be cut off at businesses that reach $15 million of assets. Now the budget proposes raising that ceiling to $50 million. So small businesses who had maybe $50 million of asset and were hesitant to grow more because they don't want to lose the 9% tax rate that they had. This budget says, don't worry, you have a higher ceiling now. You can invest more in your business. You can grow your business more. You can hire more people. You can buy more inventory. So this is great news for small businesses. They are going to be able to keep more of their money, to invest more and pay less taxes. So this will help stimulate the economy. We still have some of the measures to help small businesses who are converting to more digital technology. The measures are there. So there's training funds in the budget and the budget previous to help workers. So there are still significant investment. But, we're now putting COVID behind us and hopefully we never have to go back to those days.
Definitely, we are hoping that too. We have a lot more issues to discuss, but there is a time constraint. But thank you so much for coming to our studio and discuss about Federal Budget 2022. Thank you so much. ਤੇ ਫਿਲਹਾਲ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੈ ਇੱਕ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਦਾ। ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਰੁਕ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਬ੍ਰਿਟਿਸ਼ ਕੋਲੰਬੀਆ ਦਾ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬਣੇ ਰਹੋ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ। ब्रेक तो बाद एक बार फिर तो तुहाडा स्वागत है। बीते दिनी इमीग्रेशन मिनिस्टर सियान फ्रेजर खास तौर पर पहुंचे सरी, जिथे उन्हें पंजाबी प्रेस क्लब ऑफ ब्रिटिश कोलंबिया नाल राउंड टेबल मीटिंग की थी। इस मौके उन्हें इमीग्रेशन अपडेट संबंधी भी जानकारी दी।
कैनेडा के इमीग्रेशन मिनिस्टर ऑनरेबल सियान फ्रेजर होना वालों पंजाबी प्रेस क्लब ऑफ BC दे नाल सरी दे विच मीटिंग की गई। उन्होंने नाल राउंड टेबल मीटिंग की गई, जिस दे विच पंजाबी प्रेस क्लब ऑफ BC दे पत्रकारां ने उन्होंने काफ़ी सवाल जवाब किए। अहम सवाल सीगा कि 18 लाख एप्लीकेशन पेंडिंग हैं, उन्होंने प्रोसैस ਹੁਣ ਉਸਦਾ तेज़ करने के लिए की किया जा रहा है, जिस के जवाब में ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर का कहना सीगा कि वो नवी टैक्नोलॉजी लैके आ रहे हैं और उन्होंने काफ़ी मैन पावर भी ਵਧਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ है।
The extent of the number of people who are applying to come to Canada is very significant. A lot of it's driven by a temporary result of the COVID-19 pandemic that caused us to have closed borders and offices around the world that had actually shut down as a result of the virus having an impact in different parts of the world. So when we understand that it's driven by the fact that our capacity was reduced, we need to find ways to increase our capacity. So there's a number of things that we've been doing and will continue to do that are making a real serious difference. The first is adding more resources into the system, hiring more than 500 new staff to process more cases, putting in the fall $85 million towards work permits, study permits, TRVs, proof of citizenship, PR cards. And then in the budget just last week, we saw $385 million on temporary programs, again, TRVs, study permits, work permits, and another $187 million towards client service for people in PR streams. But we also are on the verge of a major pivot in terms of Canada's immigration system that I have faith is actually going to be able to solve this problem permanently. And that's the move towards a modern and digital system that's going to allow people to actually access Canada's immigration system, in many cases on the device they keep in their pocket, rather than having to deal with lengthy paper applications. We already saw the PR case tracker in February come online for family reunification cases, and that's the kind of thing that's going to give people information in real time. And of course the last piece, when we're dealing on the permanent side of immigration, is increasing our level spaces. We're not going to solve this problem by welcoming fewer people to Canada. That's only going to increase the wait time. We need to continue to grow our ambition to bring more newcomers into Canada so we can make sure that we can accommodate all the people who'd like to come and make a meaningful contribution to our communities across the country.
इस मौके मिनिस्टर ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਗਿਆ कि कई कनेडियंस वालों 1 साल हो गया एप्लीकेशन किए हुए नूं, चाहे वो विजिटर वीजे सन चाहे वो वर्क परमिट, उन्होंने कोई भी जवाब नहीं आ रहा। ਅਤੇ पिछले 2 महीने ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਐਜ਼ ए विजिटर ਜਾਂ वर्क परमिट ਲਾਏ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਜਵਾਬ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜਲਦੀ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, ਇਹਦਾ ਕੀ ਕਾਰਨ ਹੈ? ਜਿਸ ਤੇ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ 7 ਸਤੰਬਰ 2021 ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਕੰਮ ਡਿਜੀਟਲੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀਗਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਐਪਲੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਜਲਦੀ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ, ਪਰ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਐਪਲੀਕੇਸ਼ਨ 7 ਸਤੰਬਰ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਹੋ ਰਹੀਆਂ, ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਲੱਗ ਰਿਹਾ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਮੀਦ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰੋਸੈਸ ਜਲਦੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੀਆਂ।
But there was a big change as of September 7th, where people who had been coming through under a previous system are still being processed, but people who applied digitally after September 7th were more, the processors, people who were processing the cases were more easily to access and process in an expedited way. So people who have applied previously are still going to have their cases processed. Some of them have actually reapplied again under the new system that kicked in as of that date. But a lot of it dealt with delays that were caused by, at the time of their application, having local offices shut down, having limited capacity as a result of pandemic-related challenges within Canada. But I do have faith going forward that we're going to see a bit of a pickup of the pace across all lines of business, not just because the public health situation is having a lesser impact, but also because we're putting a heck of a lot more resources towards addressing this specific issue.
ਅਫਗਾਨਿਸਤਾਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਸੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲ ਦੇ ਆਧਾਰ ਤੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਨਾਮ ਮੰਗਵਾਉਣਾ ਅਤੇ ਯੂਕਰੇਨ ਦੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲ ਦੇ ਆਧਾਰ ਤੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਲਿਆਉਣ ਤੇ ਵੀ ਕਾਫੀ ਸਵਾਲ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ, ਜਿਸ ਤੇ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਦਾ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਯੂਕਰੇਨ ਦੇ ਲੋਕ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਠੀਕ ਹੋਣ ਤੇ ਵਾਪਸ ਜਾਣ ਦੇ ਇੱਛੁਕ ਹਨ। ਕੈਮਰਾਮੈਨ ਫਾਹਦ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਮ੍ਰਿਤਜੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ, PTC ਨਿਊਜ਼, ਸਰੀ, ਕੈਨੇਡਾ।
ਸੋ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਲਈ ਬਸ ਇੰਨਾ ਹੀ। ਫਿਲਹਾਲ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦਿਓ ਇਜਾਜ਼ਤ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰੱਖੋ ਆਪਣਾ ਖਿਆਲ ਤੇ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੀਆਂ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਲਈ ਬਣੇ ਰਹੋ PTC ਦੇ ਨਾਲ।